What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to teach you the most basic, fundamental, important piano technique. I'm going to show you exactly how to learn it and exactly how to do it. Let's get started. Alright, cut the cheesy music. It's piano time. That might be my catchphrase from now on, not really sure. But anyways, if you guys want to skip to the exact part where I teach you step by step how to do the drill, you can press up here. But first, I'm going to tell you exactly why you need to learn this drill, exactly why it's so important, because it's a weird drill. Like, I'm going to tell you guys right now. So this is basically the basis for everything else you will do in piano. And it teaches relaxation, and it teaches the arm motion that you need to use, whether you're doing scales, arpeggios, any of that stuff. I call it the Miyagi technique. And if you guys have ever seen The Karate Kid, there's this dude, Mr. Miyagi, and he's teaching the kid karate, right? And at the beginning, he's like, oh yeah, you gotta wash all these windows. And the kid's like washing like, hundreds of windows and just washing them, washing. You're sitting there in the theater and you're like, dude, teach him some cool karate moves. Like, why are you wasting his time washing the windows? And then at the end, you realize that motion of washing the windows is the exact same motion for like the most important defense move in all of karate, which is like this, like little defense move. And this is exactly what this technique is for piano. You'll be like, oh, this seems like just weird. Why am I flopping my hand on the piano? And then you realize, oh, it's because it teaches a certain motion that you use in everything else you'll play. All right, so here's step by step how to do the Miyagi technique. Step one is called the flop. And this is to teach complete relaxation of your hand and your wrist and your arm. So what you do is you take your right hand and you just flop it over your left hand like this, right? And you want to be holding the entire weight of your right arm with your left hand. So you don't want to be like if you drop your left arm, your right hand should just like flop right down to your side. And the reason is you want to develop a complete relaxation in your right hand when you play it. And all you're going to do for the first exercise is flop your right hand onto the keys using your left hand. So it's just like this. And that seems like super weird. I know it does, but just trust me, we'll get on to how this affects your playing. So here's how everybody messes up this part. A lot of people, like once your hand starts falling, you'll have this like natural tendency to kind of tense up your arm because your brain is saying, oh no, my right hand's going to like impact these keys. I don't want it to hurt, so I'm going to tense up. So we're going to make sure you don't, do that, but you actually really flop it. And what I do is I think of my arm as, those pirate ships with those huge ropes, like the ropes that are like super thick for the sails and stuff. So pretend your arm is one of those, and it just rained, right? It just rained, so the rope is like soaking wet and just like super heavy. That's what you want to think of your arm as, just this heavy rope that just flops down. Alright, so that's step one, the flop. Step two is called the catch. Now you're going to do the exact same thing, except you're going to catch it with your finger on a note. So instead of just letting your arm flop, you're going to catch it on a note. So it's going to look something like this. And you can do this with all your fingers. So first, do your third fingers are easiest, so do that one first. Then you can do, second finger, fourth finger. Just do all your fingers. And what you want to focus on this part is you don't want your finger to collapse. That's like the worst thing that can happen in terms of piano technique. And collapse means, okay, notice there's like a curve in my finger, right? Whenever your finger goes like this, that's a collapse. Or if this joint collapse, it'll look like this. It'll kind of bend, like hyperextend backward. You don't want that. That's bad. You want, there's a couple advanced techniques that use that, but for a beginner, don't do that. You want to always have some kind of curve. Even if it's just a little curve, even if it's just like this, you want that curve in your finger. And the second thing you want to do is you want to let your wrist fall down below the keys and roll to the outside. Your wrist and your elbow roll to the outside. And if you see people playing expressive, they have that motion, and that's what develops a certain tone on the piano, and it gives it that really like expressive quality. Like when you play the exact same notes as somebody, but theirs just sounds like smooth, and you're like, man, theirs just sounds like super smooth. I'm playing the exact same notes. Why doesn't mine sound like that? It's because you don't have the tone down. And you can't really hear it with the keyboard, unfortunately. But try playing on an actual piano, playing that, and then playing the more rolled out version. You can see right away that the tone is different, and it's a lot better. All right, now step three, it's called independence. So basically, it's the same thing as step two, but you stop using your left hand and you just use your right hand. So take your right hand and you just do a slight lift, and then you do the complete relaxation. So it's just. But you still want to get that kind of dead arm feel where you're just using gravity to help you play the notes instead of using force and using your muscles. All right, then on to step 4, and step 4 is the same thing, but now we're going to play chords, right? So I would start maybe with a 3-note chord, so maybe C, E, G, and you just play. And then you can play it in all the inversions, right? Second inversion. And eventually you want to get on to 4-note chords where you're playing. Oh, another thing for chords is you want to breathe in and then like breathe out as you're releasing the chord, and it helps you kind of let go of all that tension and just like get the real chord sound. So like breathe in as you're lifting, so that's what it's going to look like. Eventually you want to get this both hands at the same time, and the final like kind of step to this process is when you do both hands, 4 notes. So you want to work it up. So eventually, do your left hand single notes, and then once you get both single notes down pretty good, then you move on to chords at one hand at a time, then chords 2 at a time, and then move on to the 4-note chords 1 hand at a time, then 2 hands at a time. So it's kind of like a progression, and you stack it up, right? So eventually, like the final kind of parts of this progression is 4-note chords, both hands at the same time. So here's what the drill sounds like. And if you notice, I'm like really exaggerating this rollout with my elbows, right? And you want to do that because when you're playing pieces, it's easy to tone that back. But if you don't do it a lot to start with, it's hard to kind of overdo it. So you want to overdo it so then it's easier when you don't overdo it, basically. All right, so now when you do this, always focus on tone. That's the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with, is actually like listen to what you're playing. Don't just kind of, go through the motions and... you want to listen, okay, what does my tone sound like if I... And try to get that really, like, warm, round tone. That's the tone you're going to want. That's what's going to make your stuff sound beautiful. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. If you guys like this, you can hit the subscribe button on my channel. I'd really appreciate it. And if you guys want more of these, like, tips and stuff, you can join my 7-day piano course. I call it my 7-day piano challenge. And all it is, it's an email course. I'll email you with different cool little tips like this every day for a week. If you're interested, you can click here to sign up. That's all I got for you guys, so peace out.